When my husband left for a business trip, his sister moved in to keep me company. Within a week, she took my spot at the table, my side of the bed, even answered my phone. When I told him, he said, "She's been there for me in ways you haven't." Then he filed for separation. She smiled and said, "I always finish what you start." I tried to pack, but my ID was gone, my cards cancelled, and then I heard her laughing in the next room, saying, "I'm a 37-year-old woman living in Bismarck, North Dakota. My husband, Dean, is 41. We've been married for 5 years. No kids. I work part-time at a dental clinic, and Dean's job keeps him traveling constantly, mostly logistics stuff, big supply contracts, meetings across state lines. I was used to the loneliness. At first, I filled the time with hobbies, cooking, catching up on shows. But over the past year, something in our marriage changed. Dean stopped touching me. Conversations became short. He started sleeping with his back turned. When I brought it up, he always said he was just tired or stressed about work. I kept telling myself it would pass. I believed that for too long. 3 weeks ago, Dean told me he had a 10-day trip to Oregon for a client. Nothing unusual. But this time, right before leaving, he said something that felt off. "Mara's going to come stay with you. Just so you're not alone." Mara is Dean's younger sister. She's single, no kids, no stable job. She jumps from idea to idea, artist, yoga instructor, holistic healer. Whatever pays just enough. She's always been in our lives, but I kept her at a distance. There was something too intense about her. Like she was always calculating, waiting. Watching me too closely. She'd never outright said anything cruel, but her eyes did. She treated me like I was temporary. I didn't want her in my house. But I was tired, still recovering from knee surgery, and too drained to argue. So I said okay. She arrived the night Dean left, dragging in 2 large suitcases and a smug grin. "I'll take care of everything," she said like it was a promise. At first, she was helpful. Cooked dinner. Cleaned up. Even offered to massage my knee. I thought maybe I'd misjudged her. Maybe she was trying. By day 2, she started reorganizing the house. Moved all the canned food into baskets. Switched the silverware drawer. Rearranged the medicine cabinet. I asked her why and she said, "Dean likes things a certain way. I know him best." I didn't respond. I tried to let it go. On day 3, I caught her answering a call on my phone. She said she thought it was spam and didn't mean to answer. The next day, she answered a call from my best friend and told her I was going through something and not really up for talking. That night I found her on the couch, wearing my hoodie. I asked her to stop going through my things. She just tilted her head and smiled. "We're family. You're acting weird." By day 5, she stopped sleeping in the guest room. She claimed she heard scratching in the walls and thought there were mice. I told her we'd never had mice. She shrugged. "I couldn't sleep in there. I'm in the master now. Dean wouldn't want me uncomfortable." I told her I sleep in the master. She smiled again. "You've been on the couch all week, haven't you?" She was right. I had moved to the couch 2 nights earlier after waking up and finding her already in my bed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I was going crazy. I tried calling Dean. No answer. I left a message telling him things were getting weird. When he finally called me back, I told him everything. Mara moving into the bedroom. Taking over the kitchen. Answering my calls. He didn't say much. Then he said something that stopped my heart. "Mara's been there for me in ways you haven't." I asked what he meant. "She gets me," he said. "You just haven't for a long time." I felt like the floor gave out under me. I tried to ask if he was joking. "I'm filing for separation," he said flatly. "She'll help me with the process." Then he hung up. I sat there, stunned. I stared at my phone for 5 minutes before I realized Mara was standing behind me. She leaned down and whispered, "Told you. I always finish what you start." She walked away like nothing had happened. I tried to pack a bag. My ID was missing. My credit and debit cards weren't working. I called my bank, my accounts had been frozen for irregular activity. I couldn't verify myself without ID. I tried logging into my email to send a copy of my license that I'd scanned years ago. My password didn't work. Reset email was sent to a backup I didn't recognize. I heard Mara laughing in the other room. Loud, smug, deliberate. Then I heard her talking on the phone. She's totally locked out. No ID, no cash, no way to get out. She has no clue what's coming next. It's beautiful. I stood in the hallway, frozen. She knew I was there. She wanted me to hear. I told her I was calling the police. She didn't even flinch. Tell them what, exactly? That you're scared of your husband's sister? That you lost your ID and can't log into your own email? You think they'll believe you or me? When the police came, she told them I'd been having emotional issues since the surgery. Said I'd stopped taking my antidepressants. Claimed she was staying to keep me safe. Without ID, without bank access, I had no proof of anything. The officers left after 10 minutes. I went to the garage that night to look for a box where I kept old documents. The whole thing was empty. But inside, taped to the lid, was a note written in thick red ink, "You don't belong here." I told Dean that from the beginning. That was when something inside me snapped. I stopped crying. I started planning. I spent that night in the basement. Not sleeping. Just thinking. Mara had stripped me of everything, my bed, my phone, my identity. But she made a mistake. She thought I was weak because I was quiet. Because I didn't fight back right away. But I wasn't done yet. I started with what I had, an old tablet I used for recipes. It didn't have service, but it still worked on Wi-Fi. And Mara hadn't touched it because it was in a kitchen drawer. I tried logging into my backup Gmail, the one I hadn't used since college. I still remembered the password. From there, I got into my old Dropbox. That's where I had copies of documents from years ago, an old scanned driver's license, tax forms, even our marriage license. I knew someone from church who worked at a local women's shelter. I hadn't spoken to her in a long time, but I found her number on a flyer tucked inside an old cookbook in the basement. I used the tablet to send a message through her organization's site. "It's me, Rachel M. I need help." He left. She moved in. I'm trapped in my own house. I don't have ID. Can you call me? I hit send. Waited. My hands were shaking. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I came upstairs to find Mara dressed in my clothes. She'd put on one of my old sundresses, and was wearing my wedding ring on a chain around her neck. "Look what I found in your drawer," she said. "You really let yourself go. These used to fit you better." She was making pancakes. Dean's favorite. She turned and placed a second plate on the table. She looked me in the eye and said, "We're celebrating." Dean filed the paperwork. "It's happening." I didn't speak. I just watched her. Later that afternoon, I got an email reply from the shelter. They sent a phone number with instructions to call from a safe place. I waited until Mara took her afternoon nap. She'd picked up the habit while pretending to be overwhelmed by my toxic energy. That was her excuse for disappearing into the bedroom every day from 2 to 3 p.m. I walked a mile in the heat to a neighbor's house. Mrs. Langley, the old widow down the street. She let me in and didn't ask too many questions. I used her landline and called the number. They said they could help. They even knew someone at the DMV who could fast-track a replacement ID. They also gave me the number of a private investigator. I wasn't going to run. Not yet. I wanted to know the full truth first. The next day, I found out Dean hadn't been in Oregon. The PI called me using a temporary voicemail box and left a message on my old Gmail. Dean checked into a resort in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. With Mara. They used his name for both rooms. Surveillance confirms they arrived together. I wanted to throw up. She'd been in my house, wearing my clothes, while vacationing with my husband. She'd come back and finished the job, as she said, by stripping everything away. That night, Mara had wine with dinner. She got sloppy. She didn't realize I was watching her as she unlocked my phone using facial recognition. She thought I hadn't noticed she set it up to accept her face instead of mine. She spent hours deleting messages, changing passwords, going through my photos. Then she made a mistake. She left my phone on the counter and went to the bathroom. I grabbed it. Tried to change the password back. Failed. Tried to text the shelter's number. Blocked. I took the phone and smashed it with a hammer in the garage. She screamed when she found it. "You bitch. Do you know what you just did?" I looked her in the eye and said, "Yeah. I ended it." She stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. For once, she didn't smile. The next morning, I had my ID delivered to the shelter. It felt like touching a piece of myself again. That same day, the PI sent more photos, videos, screenshots. Dean had transferred half of our joint savings into an account Mara opened in Texas. She'd used my name as the joint account holder. Forged my signature. I had everything now. Proof. But I wasn't ready to leave. I wanted them both to feel it. To see it coming and still be too late to stop it. I reached out to Dean's employer next. I told them I needed to update travel details for our taxes. They sent over his travel logs for the last 6 months. He hadn't been to Oregon once. There were 5 trips listed with M. Maddox as an accompanying guest. His company had strict rules against relationships between employees and contractors. And Mara had signed 2 contracts using a fake business name. I printed everything. Labeled it. Sorted it. Filed it away. I told myself, 1 more week. Then I move. Then I go. But first, I needed to let Mara know I was done playing. So I walked into the kitchen, where she was on my laptop again, and said, "I know about Lake Geneva. I know about the money. And I know you forged my name. You might want to pack your things." She froze. The color drained from her face. But then, just as quick, that same smile came back. "You think that scares me?" she said. "Dean's on my side. You're just noise." I smiled back. "I guess we'll see." After I confronted Mara in the kitchen, something changed between us. She wasn't pretending anymore. No more fake sweetness, no more passive digs. Now she was just cold. She didn't leave. She didn't even pack. Instead, she got bolder. She started locking the bedroom door at night. Not her room, the master. My room. I slept on the couch, again, because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing me leave. 3 days later, a letter arrived from Dean's lawyer. Separation papers. But something was wrong. I was being accused of abandonment. The papers claimed I'd left the marital home 6 months ago and that Mara had been acting as caretaker of the property with Dean's consent. There were notarized statements from 2 people I didn't even know, claiming I'd moved out voluntarily. They were lying. And that's when I realized this had been in motion for a long time. Maybe a year. Maybe more. They were setting me up to lose everything. I took the papers straight to the shelter office and gave them to the advocate I'd been working with. She looked them over and said, "This is fraud. And if you hadn't gotten your ID back, you'd have no way to fight it." We faxed copies to the PI, who said he had a lawyer friend in Fargo who'd want to see them. I said yes. I wanted every legal hand I could get. That night, Mara slipped a note under the bathroom door while I was brushing my teeth. It said, "This ends one of 2 ways. Quiet or messy. You decide." I didn't respond. I taped it to the fridge and left it there. Then, something happened I didn't expect. A man showed up at the door looking for Mara. She was in the back, so I answered. "Is Mara here?" he asked. "Who are you?" "Her fiancé," he said. My stomach dropped. I told him to come in. I offered him coffee. He said he didn't have time. He just wanted to know where she'd been the past 2 weeks. She told him she was visiting a dying aunt in Montana. He said she wouldn't answer calls, and that her number was disconnected. She left her dog at my place. Said she'd be back in 3 days, he said. She had a dog? He showed me a picture of them together, smiling, arms around each other. He looked hurt. Really hurt. You're her fiancé? Yeah. Since February. She said she was saving money so we could move to Austin by fall. I just stared at him. Then I got my phone and showed him a picture of Mara and Dean, holding hands in Lake Geneva, from the PI's file. He was quiet for a long time. Then he asked, "Is that your husband?" I nodded. He whispered, "She said he was her cousin." I showed him the bank transfer logs. The forged documents. The messages. His face went pale. He thanked me. Then he left. And 2 hours later, Mara exploded. She slammed through the front door, screaming. "Why the F*** are you involving other people? Why can't you just leave?" She charged at me, phone in hand. I backed up, heart pounding. "I didn't send him," I said. He showed up. "Looks like you're the one with secrets now." She grabbed my wrist. "Don't screw this up for me. Dean and I have plans. We've had plans since before your wedding." She said it without hesitation. Without shame. "Do you hear yourself?" I said. "You sound insane." "I sound free," she spat. "You were never meant to be part of his life. You were a bump in the road. Now you're just a loose end." That was when I realized I wasn't safe in that house. I called the advocate. She picked me up that night. I left with a trash bag of clothes and the few papers I'd copied. Before I left, I looked at Mara one last time. She was leaning on the stairwell, watching me go, completely calm. She said, "You think this is over?" "It's not over. You don't know what I've done for him. You don't know how deep this goes." Then she winked. I stayed at the shelter overnight. The next morning, I got a call from the PI. His voice was urgent. "Are you sitting down?" he asked. "I'm lying down." "Good. Because this goes deeper than I thought." He sent me a new file. Turns out Mara wasn't Dean's sister. Not biologically. Not legally. She wasn't in any family photos before high school. No birth certificate with his parents' names. No school record showing the same home address. She was listed as a foster placement in their home when Dean was 16. She wasn't his sister. She was his foster sister. They weren't related. They were never related. The PI said he found a rumor from someone who went to high school with them, said Dean and Mara were too close even back then. Always disappearing together. Always covering for each other. Someone once caught them kissing behind the gym but didn't report it because foster kids had it hard enough. I stared at the screen for a long time. Everything made sense now. The weird closeness. The way she spoke for him. The way he let her take over everything. He wasn't just letting it happen. He was in on it the entire time. I'd married into a lie. And now, I was ready to expose all of it. After learning the truth, that Mara and Dean weren't really siblings, I sat in the shelter's common room, just frozen. For years I had tried to make sense of the tension, the way Mara acted like she belonged in my spot. Now I knew why. They'd been partners long before I entered the picture. They played the long game. She moved into his life early, charmed his parents, positioned herself as his loyal sister, and once I came into the picture, they started planning my removal. It was time to stop surviving and start striking back. I hired the lawyer the PI recommended. His name was Mr. Kellerman. Old school. Sharp. The kind of man who believed in war, not negotiation. We filed a lawsuit against both of them. Fraud. Identity theft. Forgery. Bank fraud. Emotional distress. And we handed over the entire file of evidence, the fake bank account, the recorded calls, the PI's documents, to Dean's employer and the authorities. But I didn't stop there. I knew where they were staying. Dean had moved out of our house and was now shacked up with Mara in a furnished apartment just outside of town. So I did something that still makes me smile. I sent Mara flowers. Big, beautiful bouquet with a little note that read, "To the happy couple. You deserve everything coming." Rachel, that same day, the police showed up at their apartment with a search warrant. Within a week, the charges started rolling in. Turns out Mara had more than just fake documents under my name. She had multiple aliases tied to open fraud cases in Texas and Arizona. She'd done this before, moved into someone's life, drained it, and vanished. Dean helped her this time, which meant he was just as guilty. Dean was fired from his job for violating ethics clauses. His employer was quick. They couldn't afford to be associated with what they called a scandal involving a fraudulent romantic partnership and internal misuse of company funds. He tried to deny it, but the receipts were everywhere. A few days later, Dean showed up at the shelter. I didn't let him in. I just walked out to the parking lot and looked at him through the gate. He looked like hell. "You ruined me," he said. I said, "No. You did that yourself. I just told the truth." He tried to twist it back, of course. "She said you were cold. She said you didn't love me anymore. She said whatever it took to push me out. And you let her. She's all I had. And I was your wife." He didn't have an answer. The state froze their joint accounts. Mara tried to open a new account using a fake ID. She got arrested on the spot. Her trial is still ongoing, but she's facing up to 15 years for identity theft, wire fraud, and conspiracy. There are 3 other women from other states coming forward with similar stories now. Dean was charged as an accomplice in the financial crimes, though he took a plea deal. He's now a convicted felon. No job. No home. No wife. No money. The house? I sold it. But not before inviting the local news to do a human interest story on women rebuilding their lives after identity theft. I walked them through the empty house, showed them where Mara slept, where she cooked like it was hers. The story went viral in our area. The reporter asked me at the end, "If you could say one thing to the people who did this to you, what would it be?" I looked right into the camera and said, "Thank you for underestimating me. That's the only reason I'm still standing." I now live in Minnesota, in a small home near my cousin. I work at a different dental clinic. I don't check over my shoulder as much anymore. I sleep in peace. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I'm trapped again, with Mara standing over me, that horrible smile on her face. But then I remember, she's in jail. Dean is alone. And I'm free. Let them rot in the mess they built. I rebuilt from the ashes. And I'll never let anyone take my place again.